Hello everyone. Now, I want to do a video covering how fear of fear. I'm going to do about 10 minutes, okay? So I'm not going to go into the full-on details of fear because otherwise we could talk all day long about that because fear of fear plays such a big part. But one key component of what fear of fear does is exactly this. When the OCD sufferer clings on to the good feeling, okay, that good feeling. Now, what I mean by that is when they've had a very, very difficult time, maybe a couple of months triggered, a couple of weeks triggered, really struggling, really suffering, really finding it difficult just to function. We all know what it's like at our worst. Now, when you start coming out of that, when you start feeling better, it's understandable why people cling on to that good feeling. It's understandable because we all know how difficult it feels, how really, really horrible it can feel, right? When you're at the midst of the suffering, when you're at rock bottom, when you go to the edge and back with it, triggered all the time, nothing else matters. What's the point of getting out of bed? We know what that's like. So when you look at that, it's understandable why people cling on to that good feeling. But the problem is this. The problem is that when we cling on to that, OCD knows you want that feeling to stay. It knows desperately that you need to feel good at this time. Okay, so what OCD will do, it will dig its heels in. It will say, but what about this? But what about that? Okay, so if you try and chase a feeling, if you try and go, right, I'm feeling good now, let's cling on to that, hold on to that, and you're dragging along and you're holding on to it like that, you start going back into compulsions again because you don't want to go back into feeling triggered, you don't want to go back to feeling crap, so you start going down the compulsive cycle again. Maybe you force disputing, maybe you put off exposures, maybe you go, well, I'm going to put off life a bit because I don't want that to be ruined if that comes back. No, okay? What I advise is when that happens, do not change anything, okay? When I look back on my journey, I had no expectations how I was going to feel. One day I felt good, the next day I could feel triggered. I could have a setback the next day, and the day after I'd feel okay. My worst days were often followed by my good days and vice versa. Okay? I had to drop all rating of how I felt. Okay? Because as soon as you base things on how you feel, that is when you go down a path of emotional trouble, because you then cling on to that feeling. You say, right, I'm feeling good, I want to feel good in this moment, I've got a big holiday this weekend, I've got a big sporting event I'm going to, I've got a big music event, I really want to enjoy myself this weekend, so I'm going to cling on to this good feeling now. But that isn't going to help long term, because you'll then start giving yourself reassurance because you want that good feeling to stay, right? Recovery requires lots of discomfort, wearing it like an uncomfortable coat, taking that risk that, you know what, have a shit birthday, have a shit Christmas, have a shit holiday. Now, of course, you don't want to, but you have to expect that that could be the case, and it probably will be the case. I had many shit days, many shit days, shit months, shit years, felt completely hopeless at times. But I had to think, okay, short-term pain for long-term gain. That very common saying, but it's so important for anxiety and OCD recovery. Because what can happen is people then go, right, I'm feeling good, now how do I make sure I keep this? I'm going to dispute every day. All I'm going to do is focus on OCD. All I'm going to do is focus on how I feel. Okay, I'm feeling good. What did I do right? That becomes hugely compulsive and then becomes a problem, right? It's great for feeling better, okay? But you've got to look at the long term. It's a marathon, not a sprint, okay? Long term is the robust recovery, no chronic anxiety, no chronic guilt, intrusive thoughts have lost in their intrusiveness. Okay, you're not just going from one trigger to the other. I'm not going from one setback to the other, getting triggered now and then and just putting up with it. No, there is none of that. But to get to that stage, I had to be willing to feel anything at all. So 1 minute good, 1 minute bad. Okay, I dropped all expectations. I'd rather have a few shit months, a few shit years now, a few very difficult years now for long-term freedom, for long-term robust freedom. And remember, what we teach here isn't just Okay, let's get over this one theme. It's life tools, it's life principles. So becoming rational, adopting unconditional acceptance, other life and self-acceptance. Okay, not catastrophizing, dropping the demands, the absolutistic thinking, the perfectionism, dropping that, because when any problem comes your way in life, when any adversity, when any issue hits you in the face in life, it's leaving you better equipped, more robust, in a better place to deal with that. Okay, I'm not going to vent, I'm not going to complain, I'm not going to whine, because that is a zero return investment. How do I deal with that? How do I overcome that? Okay, now to get to that stage, that requires behavior change and belief change. It does not just happen overnight. You don't just get to a stage where, oh yeah, that's fine, I can deal with it. No, it takes a lot more than that. And it takes that struggle, it takes that suffering, it takes that really, really difficult days to get you, put you in better stead for those days in the future. All right. So to go back to the point of this video, the title of this video was fear of fear, when you're clinging on to that good feeling, desperately clinging on to it. No, please don't come back. No, no, no. Well, that is the problem. So to go back to that, when that happens, do not make a sudden change. Okay. Do not do anything to think, right, how do I keep this feeling? Have no expectations. You could feel worse the next day, you could feel good the next day, right? Like I said, I had to view the long-term approach. I had to, okay? I didn't want to, because like you, I was desperate for that good feeling, understandable. But like anything in life, where let's say you've got training to be an athlete, okay? Now, you're going through that pain of the training, the commitment, the dedication, the pain, the getting up early hours in the morning, the traveling, the cost, right? You can't just focus on how you feel then. You're gonna feel struggle then, okay? But you've got to think, what's the long-term aim? What's the result that I want out of this? What do I aim to achieve from the work that I'm putting in now? Okay, and that's so important. So if you're watching this video and you're feeling good, you're feeling bad, just remember, how you're feeling today does not indicate forever. If you're feeling really, really bad watching this video, close to tears, going through a really, really tough setback, just remember, how you feel today, it's not reassurance, it's just reality of the journey. It does not indicate forever. So meaning that do not base it all on how you feel today. Do not rate your day based on how you feel, because you can do anything even whilst you feel good or you feel bad. Let's think about the feelings of good and bad, right? All it is anxious energy. It's energy in the body. It's sensitized nerves, okay? And it's not nice. It's not comfortable at all. Of course it's not comfortable, but it's no physical barrier. It's just a mental barrier. It only becomes a barrier when we say, I cannot do this because of this. I cannot do this thing because I'm anxious. I cannot go to that football match because I'm guilty. I cannot go on a date. I cannot date because I might have a panic attack. Okay? Well, that could happen. We have to go towards that. We have to go towards that. Do not change anything based on how you feel. That is the biggest problem that I see doing coaching, because they go, Sam, I'm feeling bad. What do I do to get rid of it? Sam, I'm feeling good. How do I hold on to this? No. Okay? The main aim is to focus on beliefs, focus on behaviors, and if recovery happens, great, that's a side effect. It's the same with happiness. Okay? I'm happy, but I did not chase happiness. I did not sit down one day and go, right, how can I be happy? What can I do to be happy? If I do that, will I be happy? No. I had to think, okay, what are my goals? What can I change? Okay, of course I have goals where I think that would make me happy, but I didn't just try and chase and run after it. It's not a finishing line. It's not an end destination. You're not at the train station of happy, right? Because it's a moving target. It's ever changing, same as the self. Okay, so what would have made me happy when I was a kid would not make me happy today. Okay, because goals are ever changing. Let's say money. Let's say money is a happiness. You go, if I earn X amount of money, then I'm happy. Well, if you then get to that X amount of money, you're then going to want more. Okay, I'll just tell you a personal story. I was on holiday in Africa a couple of months ago, and there were kids playing in quite a poor area, and you could tell it was quite run down, poverty, and these kids were probably the happiest I've ever seen kids, where they were smiling, joking, laughing, and I was looking at them thinking, these kids probably don't have much. the clothes, they're quite dirty. You could tell it wasn't the most hygienic place. And I'm thinking, there's probably not food on the table. They're probably living in some sort of shack somewhere. So the point is that because when you're at that stage where you have nothing, you don't have things that we have here, or you don't have things where, like materialistic things, you don't have the fancy car, you don't have that career or that big house. The point is, happiness is a perspective. Because if you're used to nothing, if you've known that feeling of having nothing, then any bit of money is going to be, oh wow, that's great. But let's say you're a billionaire, let's say you're loads of money, you're like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Okay, it's like an athlete. If you let's say you're a footballer and you sign for this big club, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And the same with me now, that I'm aiming for goals financially, relationship-wise, career-wise, but it's not like I get there and that's it, I'm just going to lie down and do nothing. No, because you change. The goal will then change. I go, okay, how can I improve? And then that journey, that process is then, if happiness comes along, great, that's a great side effect. But it's not all just down to, yes, let's achieve this and I'll be happy and I'll put everything down. No, it doesn't work like that. Same with recovery. Recovery doesn't work like that. It's not just, okay, I'm gonna read the books and I'll be recovered and I'll not think about it again. No, it's the ever-changing process. It's a constant perspective shift. It's a constant journey, okay? Journey is not just journey of suffering, of course not. OCD suffering's taught me loads. Suffering was bad, but the lessons it's taught me, the tools I've got from it, has changed my life massively. Okay, so it's good to remember situations like that, the kids in Africa, anyone who lives in the slums, any poverty, where there's famine, not much food. It's thinking, okay, when people are in those situations can be happy with pretty much nothing, minimal things, you realise, okay, happiness is a perspective here. All right, that's so important to remember. Okay, so just to round up this video, do not cling on to that good feeling. Do not cling on to that, okay? If you feel bad tomorrow, you feel bad tomorrow. If you feel good tomorrow, you feel good tomorrow. Great, okay? But do not desperately cling on to that. Right, it's good, I need to keep hold of this. No, because that becomes a big problem, okay? Expect yourself to feel anything at all, and just focus on changing beliefs, changing behaviours, putting in recovery work, and see where you end up.